Today, former Florida Representative Matt Gaetz withdrew his name from consideration for the Office of Attorney General. He did so shortly after CNN told him that they were going to report that the House Ethics Committee had been told there were witnesses to yet another sexual encounter between Gaetz and a minor in 2017. There was already evidence that he had sent more than $10,000 to two women who later testified in sexual misconduct investigations. The notes explaining the payments said things like, "Love you," "being my friend," "being awesome," and "flight plus extra for you." Trump transition spokesperson Alex Pfeiffer told Alex Steeken of ABC News that discussions of Gaetz's payments are meant to undermine the mandate from the people to reform the Justice Department. Gaetz's withdrawal turns attention to Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. As host of the weekend edition of Fox and Friends, Hegseth has no relevant experience to run a crucial United States government department, let alone one that oversees close to 3 million personnel and a budget of more than $800 billion. According to Heath Drusen of the Idaho Capital Sun, Hegseth has close ties to an Idaho Christian nationalist church that wants to turn the United States into a theocracy. Jonathan Chait of The Atlantic did a deep dive into Hegseth's recent books and concluded that Hegseth considers himself to be at war with basically everybody to Trump's left, and it is by no means clear that he means war metaphorically. Hegseth's books suggest he thinks that everything that does not support the MAGA worldview is Marxist, including voters choosing Democrats at the voting booth. He calls for the categorical defeat of the left and says that without its utter annihilation, America cannot and will not survive. Like Gaetz, Hegseth is facing stories about sexual assault. Yesterday, officials in Monterey, California, released a police report detailing a 2017 sexual assault complaint against Hegseth. The report recounts chilling details of a drunk Hegseth blocking a California woman from leaving a hotel room and then sexually assaulting her. A nurse reported the alleged assault after the woman underwent a rape exam. Hegseth says the encounter was consensual, but he paid the woman a settlement in exchange for a non-disclosure agreement. He was never charged. Trump's pick for Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, is also short on experience in the field of the department she has been tapped to oversee. She once incorrectly claimed to have a bachelor's degree in education when she was trying to get a seat on the Connecticut Board of Education, and is known primarily for her work building World Wrestling Entertainment. And she, too, has been entangled in a sex abuse scandal. In October, 5 men filed a lawsuit claiming that she and her husband, Vince McMahon, were aware that former ringside announcer Melvin Phillips was assaulting ring boys who were as young as 13. A spokesperson for the Trump transition said of McMahon's misrepresented credentials, "These types of politically motivated attacks are the new normal for nominees ready to enact President Trump's mandate for common sense that an overwhelming majority of Americans supported 2 weeks ago." But Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence makes McMahon look like a prize. As military scholar Tom Nichols points out in The Atlantic, former Representative Tulsi Gabbard is stunningly unqualified to oversee all of America's intelligence services, including the Central Intelligence Agency. Nichols notes that her constant parroting of Russian talking points and her cozying up to Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad make her a walking Christmas tree of warning lights for our national security. Former Republican Governor of South Carolina Nikki Haley suggested that Gabbard is a Russian, Iranian, Syrian, Chinese sympathizer who has no place at the head of American intelligence. A Russian state media presenter refers to Gabbard as our girlfriend and as a Russian agent. And then there is Trump's tapping of Robert Kennedy Jr. to head the Department of Health and Human Services. Kennedy has no training in medicine or public health, and in addition to being a prominent critic of the vaccines that have dramatically curtailed disease and death in the U.S., is an outspoken critic of the Food and Drug Administration, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the National Institutes of Health. There are a number of ways to think about Trump's appointments. The people he has picked have so little experience in the fields their departments handle that Aaron Burnett of CNN suggested that he is simply choosing them from central casting, a favorite phrase of his, to look as he imagines such officials should. Indeed, as Zachary B. Wolfe of CNN pointed out, while President Joe Biden vowed to make his cabinet look like America, Trump's picks look exactly like Fox News. Trump has actually tapped a number of television hosts for different positions.